Alright, what is up everybody? Let's talk about a dude who has completely flipped the script. A guy who went from vlogging in his LA mansion to flying off the top rope at WrestleMania. We're talking about Logan Paul, the Maverick, the social media megastar who decided conquering the internet wasn't enough and set his sights on the squared circle. Now, let's be honest. When we first heard this was happening, a lot of us were like, wait, what? This is the guy from YouTube. The guy who boxed Floyd Mayweather. The guy who's never been too far from a headline, good or bad. He's a lightning rod for controversy, but that's exactly why the WWE universe couldn't look away. They saw the dollar signs, the eyeballs, the mainstream buzz. Vince McMahon, Triple H, they aren't dummies. They knew bringing in a guy with millions of followers, a guy who knows how to push buttons better than anyone, was a guaranteed way to get people talking. And boy did it work. He wasn't just some celebrity guest who shows up, waves to the crowd and collects a check. Nah, this dude was different. He committed. He took the bumps, he learned the craft, and he leaned into being the most hateable guy in the room. He embraced the boos like they were a standing ovation, and honestly, you gotta respect the hustle. So today we're gonna dive deep into the absolute chaos that is Logan Paul's WWE career. We're breaking down the rivalries that defined his journey from outsider to United States champion. We're talking about the betrayals, the brawls, the high-flying insanity, and the moments that made even the biggest skeptics say, "Don, this guy can go." We'll look at the beefs that started in the ring and the ones that spilled over from the outside world. This is a countdown of Logan Paul's most talked about feuds. A masterclass in getting under everyone's skin. Let's get to it. So where does this whole wild ride begin? It starts with The Miz. You gotta remember the setup. WrestleMania 38 in Dallas, Texas. AT&T Stadium is packed. The Miz, this A-list veteran, needs a partner to take on the Mysterios, Rey and Dominic. And who does he bring in? The ultimate outsider, Logan Paul. At this point, we're all thinking, okay, here we go. Celebrity appearance, he'll do a couple of spots, Miz will do the heavy lifting, and that's that. But that is not what happened, people. Not even close. Logan came out and looked like he'd been doing this for years. He was athletic, he was crisp, he hit the Three Amigos on Rey Mysterio, in tribute to Eddie Guerrero. The stones on this guy, he was soaking in the booze, eating them for breakfast, and they won. The Miz and Logan Paul get their hands raised at WrestleMania. It was a picture-perfect moment for them. They're celebrating, the crowd is furious, and you're thinking, okay, this is a pretty effective heel team. It was a massive success for a debut. But then, bam! Out of absolutely nowhere, The Miz turns on him, hits him with the skull-crushing finale right in the middle of the ring, just lays him out cold. And in that moment, the entire narrative flipped. The crowd, who had been booing Logan for 30 straight minutes, suddenly felt a tiny bit of sympathy. The Miz created a monster without even realizing it. He thought he was getting one up on the celebrity, but all he did was light a fire under a dude who was already a competitive maniac. This betrayal set the stage for everything. It gave Logan a reason to come back, a clear-cut mission. It wasn't just for fun anymore, it was for revenge. The Miz made it personal. The promos between these two leading up to SummerSlam were electric. Miz is a master on the mic, but Logan held his own, talking about how Miz was just jealous of his instant success. The whole thing was built on this idea of the veteran versus the rookie, the A-lister versus the social media king. And the payoff at SummerSlam 2022? Incredible. Logan Paul comes out looking like an absolute superstar. He's flying around the ring, doing moves that guys in the Performance Center are still trying to figure out. He puts The Miz through the announce table with a frog splash that was just chef's kiss. It was a statement victory. It wasn't just a win, it was an announcement to the entire locker room and everyone watching at home that he wasn't a fluke. This feud with The Miz proved, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Logan Paul belonged. He could hang. He was a natural. After proving he could go with a veteran like The Miz, Logan needed his next big test. And who better to test your mettle against than the architect, the visionary, the Monday Night Messiah himself, Seth freaking Rollins. Now this was a different kind of beef. This wasn't about a simple betrayal, this was about respect. Seth Rollins, a guy who lives and breathes professional wrestling, looked at Logan Paul and saw everything he despised. A part-timer, an outsider, a celebrity just using WWE for clout. Rollins was vocal about it, man. On the mic, in interviews, he did not hold back. He called Logan a cancer, a virus, a guy who didn't pay his dues and was just taking a spot from a more deserving full-time superstar. And you know what? A lot of the fans agreed with him. Seth was channeling the frustration of the hardcore audience. He was their voice. Every promo he cut was just dripping with this righteous indignation, and it made their feud feel incredibly real and personal. The whole thing really kicked into high gear at the Royal Rumble when Logan, in a shocking move, eliminated Seth. The place went nuts. Rollins was incandescent with rage. That moment was the spark. From there, it was a collision course to WrestleMania 39 in Hollywood. The build was fantastic. Logan was knocking Seth out with one lucky punch, costing him matches, and just being the most annoying human being on the planet. He played the heel role to perfection, showing up in flashy cars and expensive clothes, reminding everyone he was richer and more famous than their hero. Their match at WrestleMania was a spectacle, a true showstopper. Logan made his entrance on a zipline, for crying out loud, the audacity, and the match itself was a clinic. They went back and forth, counter for counter. Logan pulled out all the stops. The athleticism was off the charts. There was that insane moment where he set Rollins up on the announce table for a frog splash, but Seth pulled Logan's prime mascot, KSI, onto the table instead. Logan splashed his own business partner through the table, an all-time WrestleMania moment. Even though Seth Rollins got the win in the end, hitting that massive stomp for the 1-2-3, something shifted. In the weeks and months that followed, you could sense a change in Seth's tone. He never became Logan's biggest fan, but the disrespect turned into a grudging respect. He acknowledged that Logan brought it, that he showed up and performed on the biggest stage. This feud was crucial because it wasn't just about winning a match, it was about Logan Paul earning the respect of one of the best in the world, and by extension a huge portion of the fan base. If the feud with Seth Rollins was about earning respect, the rivalry with Kevin Owens was about pure, unadulterated frustration. This felt different. Kevin Owens is a guy who tells it like it is. He's a brawler, a prize fighter, and he has zero time for phonies. From the second Logan Paul won the United States Championship from Rey Mysterio, KO had him in his sights. He saw a guy walking around with a title he didn't deserve. A guy who took shortcuts and didn't honor the legacy of that belt. The build to their match at the Royal Rumble was all about this tension. Owens, on the mic, was just relentless. He wasn't just playing a character, you could feel the real-life annoyance bleeding through. He talked about how guys like him scratched and clawed for years to get a shot, while Logan just waltzed in because of his name. He represented the working man, the guy who puts in the hours, going up against the privileged kid who had everything handed to him. It was a classic, relatable story. Their interactions were gold. Logan, ever the instigator, would just poke and prod. He'd bring up KO's past, his physique, anything to get under his skin. And KO would just fire back with this raw, unfiltered passion that the crowd absolutely loved. The contract signing for their match was chaotic, with Logan trying to get the upper hand and KO just wanting to fight. It felt like a powder keg waiting to explode, and the United States Championship was right in the middle of it all. The match at the Royal Rumble was a straight-up fight. It wasn't as flashy or high-flying as the stuff with Rollins or Ricochet. This was a brawl. Owens was just beating the brakes off Logan, throwing him into the barricades, hitting cannonballs, just punishing the champion. Logan was in survival mode, trying to use his athleticism to create space, but KO was just smothering him. It looked like it was all over for the Maverick. Owens had him beat, plain and simple. But then, the finish. Logan's buddy, one of his entourage guys, gets caught trying to slip him a pair of brass knuckles. The ref sees it. But in the chaos, another pair gets slipped to Logan. He clocks Owens with them, knocks him out cold. He goes for the pin, but the ref sees the knuckles on his hand and calls for the disqualification. Logan keeps his title, but in the slimiest way possible. KO won the fight, but Logan walked out with the belt. It was the ultimate heel move, and it made the crowd despise him even more. The real-life frustration of Kevin Owens became the storyline, and it made for some absolutely compelling television. WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia, the biggest stage of them all. And, well, Logan Paul finds himself in an absolute pressure cooker. He's defending his United States Championship, not against one but two legends of the game. First, you've got Kevin Owens. He's still fuming, still hunting for revenge after that brass knuckles incident at the Rumble. The bad blood there was already at a boiling point. But then, you add another layer. You add the Viper, Randy Orton. Orton's involvement stemmed from the Elimination Chamber, where Logan, again with the brass knuckles, cost Randy a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. You do not do that to Randy Orton. The Viper is methodical, he's patient, but when you wrong him he will make you pay. So now Logan doesn't just have the brawler KO after him, he has the Apex Predator, one of the most decorated and dangerous superstars in WWE history, breathing down his neck. The dynamic was incredible. Logan, to his credit, played his part perfectly. He was the smarmy, arrogant champion who knew he was in over his head but tried to act like he had it all under control. His promos were all about how he was the future, and these two were the past. He was using his social media savvy to get in their heads, while Orton and Owens were just focused on tearing him limb from limb. The tension between Orton and Owens themselves added another wrinkle, with both guys wanting the title, but also wanting to be the one to shut Logan Paul up for good. The match itself was a masterclass in storytelling. It was pure chaos from the opening bell. Orton and Owens for a moment teamed up to just obliterate Logan. They were throwing him over announce tables, stomping him out in the corner. The crowd was loving it. But of course that alliance couldn't last. Eventually they had to turn on each other, and that's when Logan, like the opportunist he is, saw his opening to slither back into the match. He'd pop in, hit a big move, and then try to escape. And then, the iShow Speed moment. This was peak Logan Paul. He brings his buddy, the mega streamer iShow Speed, out in a prime bottle costume. In the middle of the match, Speed pulls Logan out of the way of a punt from Orton and starts barking at the Viper. Randy Orton, being Randy Orton, proceeds to annihilate this poor kid in a bottle costume on top of the announce table with an RKO. It was hilarious, it was shocking, and it was the perfect distraction for Logan to try and steal the win. In the end though, Orton hit Logan with an RKO, but Logan's quick thinking and a frog splash on Owens allowed him to pin KO while Orton was down, stealing the victory in the most Logan Paul way possible. After surviving the Viper's Nest at WrestleMania, Logan Paul found himself in the crosshairs of the fastest rising star in the entire industry, LA Knight. Yeah, this wasn't a feud that exploded overnight, this was a slow burn, a masterfully built storyline that felt organic and earned. It started with subtle jabs, with LA Knight making it clear on commentary and in backstage segments that he had his eye on the United States Championship and the man holding it. LA Knight represents everything that Logan Paul isn't. He's a guy who grinded for 2 decades on the independent scene. He was told no 1,000 times but refused to give up. He got over with the crowd not because of a viral video, but because of his undeniable charisma, his incredible mic skills, and his connection with the people. He's the everyman hero, while Logan is the silver spoon villain. The contrast was perfect, and the WWE Universe was desperate to see LA Knight get his moment. The storyline was built so carefully. It wasn't just about the title, it was about legitimacy. LA Knight would cut these scathing promos, calling Logan a human YouTube clip who was cosplaying as a wrestler. He would point out that Logan was never on the show, that he was a part-time champion who didn't respect the business. Every word resonated with the fans who saw LA Knight on SmackDown every single week, putting in the work. Logan, in return, would mock LA Knight's catchphrases and dismiss him as a flavor of the month. The tension simmered for months, leading to their inevitable clash at SummerSlam 2024. The build was all about whether the Grinder could finally overcome the Golden Boy. Could the man of the people finally dethrone the social media king? The match was positioned as one of the main events, a testament to how hot the feud had become. The crowd was electric for LA Knight, chanting "yeah" with every move he made. The match delivered on all the storytelling. It was a back-and-forth war. Logan used his athleticism and dirty tricks, trying to use the ropes for leverage, getting his entourage involved. LA Knight fought with pure heart and grit, weathering the storm and feeding off the energy of the crowd. The finish was pure poetry. After thwarting Logan's attempts to cheat with brass knuckles yet again, Louisiana Knight hit his signature move, the BFT blunt force trauma, for the clean 1-2-3. The roof blew off the place. It was more than just a title change, it was a coronation. The slow burn feud paid off with one of the most satisfying moments of the year, cementing LA Knight as a top star and giving Logan's reign a definitive, meaningful end. Sometimes a rivalry doesn't need months of deep personal storytelling. Sometimes all it takes is one jaw-dropping, "Did you just see that?" moment to ignite a feud. That's exactly what happened between Logan Paul and Ricochet. It all started at the Royal Rumble. The two of them, on opposite sides of the ring, looked at each other, ran full speed, and launched themselves into the air, colliding in mid-air with a double springboard clothesline. It was insane. It was a viral moment that had the entire internet buzzing. That one spectacular collision was the seed. From there, the feud grew out of a sense of professional one-upmanship. Who was the better athlete? Who was the true human highlight reel of the WWE? Ricochet, a guy who has made a career out of defying gravity, saw this newcomer Logan doing these incredible high-flying moves and felt he needed to remind everyone who the original was. Logan, with his massive ego, couldn't stand the idea that someone might be more athletic than him. Their interactions were less about personal insults and more about athletic challenges. It was almost like a game of HORSE, but with death-defying wrestling moves. Backstage, Logan would be filming a TikTok and Ricochet would interrupt him by doing a backflip. On the mic, Logan would brag about his frog splash and Ricochet would fire back about his 630 senton. It was a battle of supreme confidence and even more supreme athletic ability. The fans were just eating it up, wondering what crazy thing they would do next. The rivalry culminated in a one-on-one match at SummerSlam, a true showcase of what both men could do. The match was an absolute spectacle of aerial artistry. It was less of a fight and more of a Cirque du Soleil performance with attitude. They were doing things that just shouldn't be possible, moves that had the crowd on their feet from start to finish. Spanish flies, shooting star presses, moonsaults to the outside. It was a dizzying display of talent. The finish, however, brought it back to Logan's true nature. Just when it looked like Ricochet was about to hit his finisher and get the win, a member of Logan's crew slid him the infamous brass knuckles. While the referee was distracted, Logan clocked Ricochet mid-air, knocking him unconscious and stealing the victory. It was a dirty, cheap ending to a beautifully athletic contest, and it perfectly encapsulated Logan's character. He could hang with the best high flyer in the world, but in the end, he'd still rather cheat to win. This feud was also used as a creative way to write Ricochet off TV as he was leaving the company, giving him a high-profile exit while making Logan look like an even bigger villain. Not all of Logan Paul's rivalries started in a WWE ring. Some of them, honestly, were born in the chaotic world of influencer boxing and social media warfare, and no beef was messier, more personal, or, well, more legally complicated than his feud with MMA fighter and professional troll, Dillon Danis. This whole thing was rooted in Logan's boxing match against Danis, a build-up that was less about sport and more about psychological warfare. Dillon Danis, he really took things to a place few would dare to go. He relentlessly targeted Logan's fiancée, Nina Agdal, posting old photos and making some pretty vile, unsubstantiated claims online. It was a scorched earth promotional tactic that went way beyond typical trash talk. It was personal, it was nasty, and it resulted in Logan and his fiancée filing a lawsuit against Danis for defamation. This wasn't just selling a fight. This was a genuine, bitter, and public feud. The fight itself was almost secondary to all the drama. Logan dominated the boxing match, with Danis showing very little offense and eventually getting disqualified for trying to tackle Logan. But the animosity didn't end when the final bell rang. Danis refused to let it go. He continued to take shots at Logan and Nina on social media, keeping the feud alive long after the fight was over. There was this lingering resentment, a sense that honestly this was far from settled. This deep-seated, real-world hatred makes a potential crossover into WWE so tantalizing. Imagine the promos, Logan Paul, now a polished WWE superstar, having to confront the man who publicly harassed his partner. The storyline practically writes itself. It blurs the lines between reality and entertainment in a way that WWE just loves to do. The built-in backstory is so potent and so raw that it would immediately be one of the most heated feuds in the company. While Danis has never officially stepped into a WWE ring to face Logan, the possibility always kind of looms. It's a what-if scenario that fans constantly talk about. Would WWE dare to touch a feud with so much real-life legal baggage? Or honestly, is that exactly the kind of controversy they'd want to capitalize on? The lingering resentment from Danis and the very real animosity between the two men means this chapter, while rooted in boxing, feels like it's just one surprise appearance away from becoming a full-blown WWE rivalry. How do you, solidify your status as a main event player in WWE? Well, you go after the GOAT. You call out the biggest name in the history of the business. For Logan Paul, that meant setting his sights on the 16-time world champion, the leader of the Cenation, John Cena. This wasn't about a championship, this was about legacy. It was about proving he could stand on the same stage as an icon and not look out of place. The seeds were planted in a way that only Logan Paul could manage. After a WWE event in Paris where the crowd was absolutely nuclear, Logan got on the mic and basically challenged Cena. He framed it as a passing of the torch, the new megastar calling out the old guard. It was audacious, it was arrogant, and it got people talking immediately. Could this match actually happen? The new face of Hollywood versus the social media phenomenon? John Cena, never one to back down, responded in classic Cena fashion. On an episode of SmackDown, he didn't just dismiss Logan, he eviscerated him on the microphone. He called him an arrogant, entitled part-time wannabe. He tore down Logan's entire persona, accusing him of being there for himself and not for the fans. Cena, the ultimate company man, positioned himself as the gatekeeper of WWE's integrity, and Logan Paul was the intruder he needed to expel. The promo was a masterclass in putting a young star in their place. But Logan, being Logan, didn't just take it. He used his own platform, his impulsive podcast, to fire back. This is where the feud took a really personal turn. Logan accused Cena of having a midlife crisis, suggesting that Cena's return to WWE was because his Hollywood career was stalling. He mocked Cena's movie roles and his age, hitting him with the kind of sharp, personal jabs that are designed to get under the skin. It was a modern feud, fought on WWE television and across new media platforms. While the one-on-one dream match has yet to materialize, the tension is, palpable. It's a classic WWE storyline. The respected, aging veteran versus the cocky young upstart who thinks he knows it all. Every interaction, every insult, every podcast clip just adds another layer to what could be one of the biggest crossover matches in recent memory. It's a feud simmering on the back burner, ready to explode the moment John Cena decides to step back into a WWE ring for one more big fight. Sometimes, the most dangerous rivalries are the ones you don't see coming. After a tumultuous year defending his US title and mixing it up with legends, Logan Paul decided to make a statement. And he did it at the expense of one of the most beloved superstars on the entire roster, main event, Jey Uso. This wasn't a slow burn, this was a blindside attack, a declaration of war out of the blue. The scene was Monday Night Raw. Jey Uso was in the middle of a high-stakes match, one that could have put him in line for a world championship opportunity. The crowd was fully behind him, the Yeet movement was in full effect, and Jey was on the verge of a huge victory. And then, from out of nowhere, Logan Paul and his crew hit the ring. They swarmed Jey, beating him down, completely decimating him. It was a shocking and brutal assault. There was no clear reason for it, which made it even more effective. Why Jey? Why now? The answer became clear. Logan Paul, ever the opportunist, saw Jey Uso as the hottest act on Raw. Jey had the crowd in the palm of his hand. He was a merchandise-moving machine, and he was on an incredible babyface run after breaking free from the bloodline. Logan didn't attack him for a title or for past revenge. He attacked him for the spotlight. He wanted to steal Jey's momentum and make it his own. This attack immediately set up a high-profile, main event-level feud. It's the ultimate good versus evil story. Jey Uso, the man who fought his way out of a toxic family situation to become his own man, a true hero to the people. And Logan Paul, the entitled outsider who takes what he wants and attacks from behind. The promos are going to be electric. Jey's fiery, emotional style against Logan's cold, calculated arrogance. This rivalry is brewing as we speak, and it has all the makings of a classic. It's a clash of styles and a clash of personalities. Can Jey Uso, with the entire WWE universe behind him, get his revenge on the man who cost him his shot? Or will Logan Paul, with his numbers game and dirty tactics, continue to use one of WWE's biggest stars as a stepping stone? This is more than just a match, it's a battle for the heart and soul of Monday Night Raw, and it's just getting started. Logan Paul's knack for getting under people's skin isn't limited to just fellow wrestlers. He'll drag anyone into his orbit if it gets him more heat. This was never more apparent than during his wild tag team feud leading into SummerSlam, where he found himself standing across the ring from Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, and, Grammy-winning country music superstar, Jelly Roll. You can't make this stuff up. This all started because Logan, being Logan, couldn't resist taking shots at Jelly Roll, who was a celebrated guest in the WWE world and a massive fan. Logan mocked his music, his appearance, his background. the typical Logan Paul playbook. But this time, it backfired. Jelly Roll wasn't just some random celebrity, he was tight with the Viper Randy Orton. So when Logan insulted Jelly, he inadvertently insulted one of the most dangerous men in the locker room. Drew McIntyre, who also had his own issues with Logan, was more than happy to join the party. The feud became this bizarre and incredible mix of sports entertainment and country music culture. Logan would cut these promos running down Nashville, making fun of country fans, just being the ultimate coastal elite villain. On the other side you had Drew and Randy, two absolute killers, defending the honor of their friend. And Jelly Roll was right there with them, not as a passive observer, but as an active participant, getting physically involved and showing he wasn't afraid to throw down. The personal digs from Logan were relentless. He went after everyone. He brought up Drew McIntyre's past failures to win the big one. He tried to get in Randy Orton's head, reminding him of past injuries. He treated Jelly Roll like a joke. This all culminated in a massive tag team match at SummerSlam, with Jelly Roll making his official in-ring debut. The atmosphere was insane, with the Nashville crowd ready to see Logan get his comeuppance. The match was pure chaos and entertainment. Jelly Roll looked surprisingly good, hitting body slams and showing that he had been training for the moment. The action was fast-paced, with Orton and McIntyre looking to dismantle Logan and his partner. Logan, as always, tried to use his cunning and numbers game to steal a win. This feud was a perfect example of Logan's unique role in WWE. He's a catalyst for chaos, a guy who can create compelling stories with anyone, from a top-tier superstar to a country music icon. It was a memorable, fun, and completely unexpected rivalry. So, what have we learned? When you look back at this insane list of rivals, it's crystal clear that Logan Paul's time in WWE is about so much more than just a frog splash or a lucky punch. This dude is a master manipulator of attention. He's a chaos agent. Whether he's betraying a partner, stealing a victory with brass knuckles, or dragging a country music star into a feud, his goal is always the same: keep the world watching. He thrives on the booze, he feeds off the controversy, and he has consistently broken the boundaries of what a celebrity wrestler can be. He didn't just dip his toe in the water, he did a cannonball into the deep end and splashed everybody. His journey has been a masterclass in stirring the pot. He's taken on legends like Randy Orton and John Cena, battled workhorses like Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, and gone toe-to-toe with high flyers like Ricochet. He's proven he has the athleticism, but more importantly, he's proven he has the nerve. He understands that in the world of WWE, being hated is just as valuable as being loved, maybe even more so. He's not just playing a character, he's built an empire on being the guy you love to hate, and he's laughing all the way to the bank. But the story is far from over. The Maverick is still in his prime, and the list of potential new rivals is a mile long. So I gotta ask you guys, what do you think? Drop a comment below and let me know which of these rivalries was the absolute wildest. Was it the betrayal by The Miz, the WrestleMania classic with Rollins, the personal beef with Dylan Dennis? And more importantly, who should be next on Logan Paul's hit list? Who do you want to see him feud with next? Let's talk about it. And hey, don't forget to stomp on that subscribe button for more content. Yeet!